The Lakers are embarrassed at crypto.com by the visiting Celtics, bullied and battered. What exactly can they do to recover from this one? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends, even on holidays, and now more than once a day, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's never going to be locked up behind a paywall, whether you're an Apple guy, a Spotify guy, maybe you're one of the 37,000 plus subscribers to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel. No matter how you're doing it, you're part of making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky. We've covered the Lakers for nearly 20 years with ESPN, with The Athletic, with the LA Times. And in all that time, Andy, any game between the Lakers and the Celtics has been a big deal. And that is why Sunday's result at the Crypt was so disappointing. We'll get to that in a second. Who played poorly, why they played poorly, what went wrong, and more importantly, Andy, what might be done to fix it. But first, need to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. They didn't just lose, Andy, this game, 111-89, the Lakers, but this was like a thorough, unraveling, butt-kicking that, quite frankly, embarrassed people with stakes in this. Like, James Worthy, if you happen to catch the post-game show, flipped over from Peacock to Spectrum Sportsnet. Like, James Worthy was as disgusted as I've ever seen him following a game. This was really, after the first quarter, dismantling, I thought.
Well, I mean, it's not just that they lost, it's how they lost, it's why they lost, it's certain patterns that keep repeating as part of the loss. And to lose to the Celtics is always going to be disappointing for Laker fans, certainly for folks like James Worthy with deep Laker ties who really live, breathe, sleep, and truly take seriously the Lakers Celtics of it all. But when you happen to get beaten by 22 points to the Celtics at home on a day where Pat Riley gets a statue, and Pat Riley is as associated with Lakers Celtics as any figure in Laker history, in no small part because he represented leading the Lakers finally over that historic hump that they just could not get over for the entirety of the 60s, like all of these different periods where the Celtics were just this giant that they could not slay. And eventually the Showtime Lakers, under Riley's guidance, took out the Celtics, 4 championships. And in particular, the toughness that was always associated with Pat Riley and Pat Riley teams, and for all of the flash and showmanship of the Showtime Lakers, even the Showtime Lakers, it is appropriately ironic that physicality would be, I think, the single biggest reason that they lost this game by a pretty wide margin.
Yeah, I mean, because remember, this was a game that they lost over 3 quarters, because after the first quarter they were in it. They were fine,
28 is in it.
Right. I mean, but there were some, bad possession. Like, Boston's a good team. And they're very good defensively. And they, the way they are defensively presents certain challenges for the Lakers. I get all that stuff. And you don't expect perfection against a good team every possession, throughout the game. But
Boston may be flat out just better than them, period.
They might be, in terms of roster continuity, construction, like how the parts work together and complement each other. They very well might be. And Jalen Brown is playing phenomenally well, all that stuff. They lost this game over the final 3 quarters. And it was about 7 minutes left in the second when, and we'll get to this sequence. Marcus Smart, Austin Reaves gets teed up, essentially protesting a non-call on Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart then gets teed up for arguing for like an hour with the official, gave him plenty of leeway and let them walk away. And it just and Smart kept talking. Lakers picked up 3 technical fouls on the afternoon, and it unraveled from there. The next play after that was a turnover and a dunk the other way. And it just mentally, you talked about hustle and toughness and physicality. The Lakers were just bullied in this game. And it wasn't like, I think people sometimes, Andy, associate like bullying, like you're being beat up defensively. They're knocking you around. They were bullied offensively. They were, the physicality of the Celtics defensively had the Lakers coming unglued. JJ Redick.
I think both, actually. I'm going to disagree a bit because early on, and the reason I'm bringing this up, early on, I think what was setting the terms of unhappiness for the Lakers early on was a lot of off-arm stuff with Jalen Brown and him whacking Marcus Smart a couple times in the face, like that's and there were like legitimately just off the top. There were legitimately some reasons that I can understand why the Lakers got frustrated in this game.
No question.
To be clear, I am far more displeased with how they handled their unhappiness than the source of the unhappiness, because you still have to play through all of it.
Right.
It's
yeah,
not
I know.
like,
I'm not disagreeing with that part of it,
okay,
for sure.
I just wanted to, I think it was really overall physicality and terms of engagement that were clearly from the outset set by the Celtics.
1,000%.
That the Lakers did not seem interested in matching. What they really seemed interested in was complaining about it.
And that's kind of where I was going. Like, I think defensively, like, look, Jalen Brown put up a big number in this game, but not an efficient one. I mean, it was 32 points, needed 28 shots to get it. Payton Pritchard obviously lit them up, made the difference with 30 points on 14 field goals. But, like in the year of our Lord, 2026, 111 points is not, we've had plenty. I'll put it this way, Andy, we've come, in these post-game shows and, next day shows with, a lot of complaints about a team that gave up 130, 140, 150, 111. You might lose. You shouldn't lose giving up 111 by 22 points. Like, you shouldn't. Like that. And Redick, I think, caught a lot of flack on social media after the game because he said, our defense was, I forget exactly the word he used, like good, passable, good enough, offensively, they were atrocious. And that's where I really think they were bullied. It's like it wasn't Boston's offense that was bullying them. It was their defense. And, they were very physical and they were, very tough on, making it difficult for Austin Reaves, making it difficult for Luka, making it difficult for LeBron. And it was just, it was a game where the sort of non-physical nature of Deandre Ayton as a center was really obvious. Like, just it was, if he couldn't get to his spot, like floaters were coming up short, like his tendency to avoid contact was really obvious in this game. And the Lakers just could not either match or work around what Boston was doing defensively. And it's the same. You pointed this out. We were talking before the podcast, and I know it's something you want to get into. You've noted, like, when teams do this, Oklahoma City did it to them. Detroit did it to them. They're just like, you know what? We're going to come out and play really physical and dare the officials to pull us back. And if they don't, we know that at some point the Lakers are going to come unglued, or they won't be able to score, or they won't be able to run an offense. It is a pattern that we have seen over and over and over again that they have not been able to figure out how to fix.
Yeah, you mentioned that they had 3 techs. The third one was JJ. And JJ got a technical foul in about 7 minutes left in the third quarter. There had been a couple of goaltending non-calls. One of them absolutely egregious. LeBron should have been scored a layup. It was a clear.
It was terrible.
clear goaltending block attempt by Keita that was not called. And then there was another one where Keita he went through the basket. Now, he did not actually touch the ball. And that was ultimately what the league offices said was the reason, like they went over it, that this should not have been called a goaltending, because ultimately he did not interfere with the basket. His hand went through the basket, but it ultimately, in their minds, did not play a role of true interference. That seemed to surprise JJ Redick. That seemed to surprise Reggie Miller and Jamal Crawford and the guys calling the game. Like,
I've never seen a guy stick his arm through the rim and not have it called.
Never have I. You and I have seen at this point in our career, like
17 basketball games.
Thousands of basketball games. I have never seen them. I've never seen that not called.
No,
but I bring up JJ for a reason, and also the leadership in general. I want to make sure to get into.
Let's do that. Let's do that next, right after the break. This question of leadership, because I agree with you. I think it is integral to what we're talking about here today.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks, simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you can cash in. You can choose from basketball, baseball starting up, hockey, soccer, UFC, and more. Plus, they got features like early payouts, flex play. So there's options even while the games are happening. It takes just a couple minutes to start a lineup. There's a cool feature called Social, and you can see what other people are playing. You can take inspiration from others, or hell, just copy them if you really like what they're doing. Good ideas. Excuse me. Available in 50 states. It is easy for anybody just to jump in. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKDOWNNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKDOWNNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
So other things we're going to get to that I think are important, and certainly, we'll probably talk about even going into Tuesday. Andy, I feel like this game might be talked about for more than one day.
Well, the Lakers are actually practicing on Monday, and I'm planning to be there, so I will.
What could they possibly have to work on?
Well, it's just more commentary about the state of the team. I mean, forget what they're trying to iron out on a Monday. This is a really important stretch for the Lakers, and they finally have the entire roster. Everybody is as healthy right now as seemingly they're going to be the entire season, and they're 1-1 out of the gate, and their win over the Clippers on Friday was frankly not very impressive. So there's a lot that they need to get going ASAP.
Good use of the F there. I don't want to get too deep into we can maybe circle back to it, but we'll call LeBron and Luka fine. They were fine in this game. Some people disagree. Some people might think they were worse than that. Okay. Austin Reaves was not good in this game. It was a bad game, and it's one that's going to start a lot of the dialogue again of, can he play against physical offense or physical defenses and wings, and is he worth the money?
Might actually raise the question of, can he play against physical offenses too?
Yeah, and we'll get to that that's probably a deeper conversation than initially the post-game reaction. It is also worth pointing out that DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura, Jarred Vanderbilt, and Jake LaRavia combined for 16 points. Yep. That's 5 guys in your rotation playing real minutes. Ayton 25, Marcus Smart 26, took an offer on the night, gave up more points in technical fouls than he did in scoring them. Rui played 21, Vando played 11, LaRavia played 24. And those guys together scored 16 points. Like, that isn't enough. Like, again, they got okay performances from LeBron and Luka, nothing you'd ever pin up on the refrigerator. You got a weak performance from AR, but like there was nothing else going on here. So
I got a sense watching the game that some of what put Ayton on tilt specifically was he got in early foul trouble and Jackson Hayes got hurt. Hayes only played 5 minutes in the game, right ankle injury. We do not, to the best of my knowledge, know anything beyond right ankle injury. He didn't return. It looked to me like Ayton was super aware of being in foul trouble and how much physicality can I get away with, and because I need to stay on the floor. And
maybe.
Well, I recognize physicality is not DeAndre Ayton's strong suit. I'm not trying to present this as he is otherwise primed Dikembe Mutombo stylistically, but just this was the one time he was watching his P's and Q's. There were times to me where he looked like he was trying to avoid further foul trouble because he knew that the options behind him were non-existent. Doesn't change the fact that he did not play well, and this would have been a really good night for DeAndre Ayton to break out. He also did not really get the ball particularly often.
No, he didn't. And I think he was, he was trying. So early, he actually had a lot of was kind of piling up rebounds early. You could see him trying to be active on the glass. These are supporting players, and my point with DeAndre was just that he is not inclined to. He's not a big physical center that you can, when you're getting kind of bullied around or you can't get him the ball. Boston did a nice job on the pick and rolls. They made it hard to get smooth actions and stuff going in the direction they wanted to go. That you can't have those possessions where like let's get him involved by just dropping the ball down there and let him go to work a little bit. And like that's just what I'm saying. Like you could see it, like his shortcomings stylistically were. I mean, and then the other thing is just like when you get into these physical things, like those little floaters, he's been missing them a lot lately. Those that were going in down at like 60-70% early in the year have not been falling in just what has been a dreadful February for him. And I don't want to. I again do not want to absolve the Lakers stars who were at best fine in this game.
I was going to say the
skip over Austin Reaves, who was not fine.
Right.
When you have that, and then you have 16 points between 5 guys in your rotation, you're setting yourself up for real problems. The Lakers couldn't shoot the ball in this game, whereas they were outshot almost by Payton Pritchard himself. All of their flaws were right up front and center today.
They shot 30% from behind the arc. They hit 9 threes in the game. 4 of them were Luka. One of them was Vando. Like it just was a bad night. It was just a bad offensive night up and down the lineup. Like, passable nights, I guess, from Luka and LeBron, but not nearly enough of what you needed. Like you said, Austin did not show up. It really struggled offensively. It took him a while to find even the semblance of a rhythm. All the supporting players came up short. But the thing that I was starting to bring up before the last break was that concept of leadership. And seeing Marcus Smart, as an example, get that technical foul, I thought was disappointing. Because it was part of a cascading snowball effect of the Lakers paying way too much attention to the way the game was being officiated. Gripes, legitimate. I will acknowledge that. A lot of the gripes were. There comes a point where who gives an F? You got to play. Like you actually have to play. And with Smart in particular, he is often the guy, accurately, who points out the importance of setting the terms of engagement and being the team that hits first and being the team that dictates the terms of how a game is going to be officiated. So to see Smart get so obsessed with arguing with a referee and eventually get teed up on top of Austin. I mean, he and Austin both got teed up at the 7-12 mark. Like not a second of game time passed between Austin's tech and then Smart's tech. What you want to see from Marcus Smart is telling everybody, let it go. Let's hit these mother effers just as hard as they're hitting us. And either A, get away with the same stuff they're getting away with, or B, force the refs to reassess how they're calling the game, because after a while, they can only call so many off-arm fouls against you before it starts becoming obvious that you're not calling it against Boston or whatever other thing that is upset.
Deliver it back.
Right. And, seeing JJ after the game still clearly upset about this, making sarcastic remarks about how, I guess that's not goaltending anymore. Like, JJ can get as caught up in this stuff as everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I think that is in part because, beyond the fact that JJ can be wired tight, JJ's also by nature argumentative. He is somebody that is very about the principle of matters. He is somebody that likes things to be letter correct. And I get it. You want the game to be officiated well, but at the same time, they're never going to be officiated perfectly. And you have to, at some point, be the guy that brings the team back to center and actually gets them back on the right track. And JJ getting teed up that early in the third quarter, again, I understand why he was upset. There was some egregious goaltending going on, but you have to be the guy that prevents this from completely going sideways. And there's just been too many times where it seems like JJ can get as caught up in this as everybody else. Like, it's funny, Luka made a joke after the game that there were three techs. Yeah, there were 3 techs and none of them were me. So this must have been bad, which it's a funny line. It's true. But while Luka didn't get teed up, there was a sequence where he did not get a call at one end of the floor and he did not get back at all. He was arguing with the refs, and it led to Derek White getting an open 3. Like,
and after the break, I know what he meant with that line, but there's another way to, interpret it that is less flattering to Lakers. I'll explain next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games officially here, and you are locking it for events that you only get to see once every 4 years. That's why winter games on FanDuel, they make sense. Medal counts, individual events, finding your angle on the sports you care about most. FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected with the action. Awesome sports you only get to see once every 4 years.
Hurry.
Yep, must watch competition. And FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The winter games are on. No better way to follow them.
It's as if they never end, Andy.
It is as if they never end. FanDuel, play your game.
Locked on Lakers is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever than just to hang out, hand things off, and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect online. It's a big time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert's handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Quick reminder too about the Everydayer Club. You go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com, or you can check out the show notes. And it's a great way to get a couple of perks for the show, a Discord chat, that Locked On Lakers Discord chat, for our listeners and people across the channel, listeners to the Locked On Network. You can talk to other hosts, talk to other fans, talk to us. You also can get the show ad-free, and we know from your emails that is a big deal for a lot of you, and we certainly understand. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. Check it out, see if it is for you. I knew what Luka meant. Like, Luka meant it. It was like, and it was a bad, like a poorly officiated game when I'm not the one getting a technical. Everybody else is so angry they're doing it. And again, Austin picked up his technical, in sort of spontaneous defense of Marcus Smart, who did get smacked.
I'm not sure that's correct, but
I was at the same. I'm pretty sure that's. I mean, he got when he was yelling at the.
He had been upset about some stuff before that happened with him. He was clapping at the ref in the ref's face. I don't know if this was about Marcus.
I thought it was. That was my read on what happened. But either way, like again, the Smart thing is particularly bad because he got to say his piece. Like the ref gave him plenty of leeway to, okay, all right. Now you can tell when they do okay, walk away. I heard you, walk away. And then he didn't shut up. Like he kept going. And so you just can't give away points like that. And like you say, as a leader, you really can't. It's just, I think, we have seen so many times the Lakers are a team that badly needs to be able to draw calls. The offense is predicated on it. People talk about the foul differentials and this and that and all this stuff that show the Lakers. Well, the reason they have to do these things is because they're, as we've seen repeatedly, they are not a good outside shooting team. And the offense, when it runs well, when they want to protect their defense, is predicated on getting the line. Luka needs to do it. Austin needs to be able to get whistles in order to open up a lot of the rest of his game. And when he doesn't, it throws everything off. LeBron, less now than he used to, but still some, again, needs to get to the line. When the Lakers don't do that, nobody else can, other than those three guys with any kind of regularity, it completely throws them off. And I would love, like you, just to see them. I realize it's not totally their character, but let's just see what would happen if the Lakers either were okay, fine, Boston, you're going to do that. We're going to smack you guys around too. And we're going to, we might get 6 fouls in 3 minutes, but we're going to get out there and we're going to be physical and we're at least going to stop absorbing all of this. Or start the game that way.
Yeah.
Or shut the bleep up and just play.
Yeah.
Those are your choices. Those are your choices.
James Worthy said something after the game that jumped out at me, talking about the way the Lakers got out physical in this game. He said, quote, "That's what pisses me off. When you're getting pushed around, when as a player, when you kind of know you're defeated. I've done this before. When I know I'm defeated, you start to complain. You start to bitch and moan, and you start to look at the refs. And in the meantime, Boston, they seemed happy. So Lakers got to decide. They got to decide. They've waited long enough. They're healthy. They got to decide who they are. And that line about they got to decide who they are, I think you can take that a bunch of different ways. They got to decide who they are temperamentally. They got to decide who they are offensively. They got to decide who they are defensively. They have to decide what their identity is going to be on both sides of the ball. They have to decide to have the discipline and the focus to stick with a coherent offense. This was yet another time where JJ mentioned the ball not moving enough and the need for trust among players to make that pass.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
And that is code for Luka, LeBron, and Austin. That's what he's talking about, because those are the three guys who have the ball the most, but also too, when those three are not moving the ball enough. And I know that there were missed shots. I understand that there were assists or potential assists that could have been there that didn't happen because everybody kept missing shots, particularly from behind the arc. I get all of that.
Yeah, if some of those go in, all of this looks different.
Right.
Reaves has a different line, probably has more space. All of that, sure. But they didn't.
But they did not move the ball enough. I thought all three of the main guys had, particularly Luka and Austin, had shots that were forced in this game. And this, I think, it becomes problematic just because it's not the best version of the offense. B, it becomes problematic because whatever you want to get out of the role guys, you're definitely not going to get the most of them. For all the flaws with DeAndre Ayton, he can't get himself the ball. For all the talk about the things Rui doesn't do, we know the one thing he does. We know and Rui did not play well
enthusiastically.
In this game. Right. Rui didn't play well in this game. the problem in this game was not specifically they didn't get Rui the ball enough. He didn't play well. But he's a guy that if you want to get the most out of him, he has to get a baseline amount of shots, because if you're looking for the proverbial little things from Rui, you're going to be disappointed. Luke Kennard is on this team to get a baseline amount of outside shots, or, you know, he can do more than just shoot, but it's the main reason he's there. But also this is, I think, really maybe the biggest thing that comes from them not moving the ball enough. It really starts to accentuate some redundancies between Luka, LeBron, and Austin as offensive hubs, and how there is not a ton of variance between the three of them as far as the way they generate offense stylistically for themselves and each other. You know, there are little differences. Austin's got a little more shape to his game.
There's a lot of overlap in the Venn diagram.
Right. And you know, I've talked about this before. This is among the reasons why I have felt pretty strongly that this needs to be the last year of these three together, because I just don't think it does not work even offensively on paper the way you would think it would. And it damn sure has to, because we know it won't work defensively the way it needs to.
It's true.
But if they are not moving the ball around in ways that at least attempts to get the most out of everybody, then you're really in a lot of ways left with three very similar versions of the same player. And I think they become predictable to defend.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what I want. I mean,
not necessarily easy, but predictable.
No, predictable. And I think that's fair. Like, it is also too, like, you know, if you can kind of manhandle Austin and Luka, and you're not going to get the calls, that you're going to get 3 or 4 possessions a game, probably with each of them, where that's what they're trying to do, where, like, you know, they're looking for that whistle and trying to create that contact. And if you know you can get away with it, then it's not even just that you're getting these sort of forced shots from them, because they're forced in the sense that, like, they look awkward when they're not, if you don't get the whistle, but they're not forced in the sense that they are like a part of a offensive plan for those particular players. This is where, you know, sort of the ball movement, the physicality, all that stuff, it hurts not just on those on-ball plays and gets everything stuck. It also is hard because not only then you get those guys sort of tunnel vision trying to create the contact, you also get other guys who are not strong enough moving through contact, you know, setting better screens, rolling harder through stuff, just bringing more force everywhere they go on the floor. And then you end up with a terrible combination of forced sort of isolation, foul drawing possessions that get reinforced because there's nowhere for those guys to go with the ball, which creates more of the possessions, which, like, it was a ton. Like, there are nights when they're better than this, but this was a total offensive.
But the nights are not frequent enough.
No, they're not a good offensive team. They're not as good as you think they would be for that top three.
But also, too, the nights that they are good are not frequent enough against good teams.
Correct.
Like, this now takes them down to 11 and 14 Correct. Against teams above 500. Obviously, there's some context of who was missing in those games, who wasn't. But at the same time, I'm willing to bet out of those 25 games they played against teams above 500, they went against at least a couple squads missing some of their best players too. Like, it just has not been consistently working as well as it needs to. And again, they've got 26 games now to figure out the highest possible floor and ceiling versions of themselves. And in order to do that, taking us back to what we began the conversation with, they don't have the luxury of wasting physical and mental energy complaining. Like, they don't have time.
All right. So we'll get into it more tomorrow, these questions, the larger sort of big picture questions about Austin, about the roster, whether, you know, there are a lot of things that this game conjures up, none of them fun or positive, but worthy of a show. But we'll get to that. We will also talk a little bit about the Pat Riley moment, and maybe, you know, who else is going to be next in Star Plaza.
That was
Cool
a fun.
statue.
That was a fun ceremony, man.
Cool statue.
Yeah.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 37,000 subscribers to the channel. Remember the Everydayer Club. Check it out in the show notes. We'll see everyone next time.